Hello there, you're here because you want to learn how to make a crumb quilt. I made this shelf specifically just for all of my scrap fabric, and each of these boxes here represents the different colours that are inside of the little boxes. I'm a very visual person, so writing the names on the outside of the boxes isn't too good, especially when they're on such a high shelf. So I colour code all of my scraps into their little box, so I know if I pick one box it's going to be red, or pick another box it's going to be yellow. So that's how I organise all of my scrap fabrics. So I'm going to get started on making my crumb quilt, and this box is obviously my orange box. I am going to focus predominantly at first on getting rid of some of my overfilling scraps. So I'm going to take this one and let's get started on the crumb quilt. I highly recommend that you have an iron nearby, so get that plugged in. So I specifically want to focus on a lot of my tinier scraps or pieces of fabric that I know I'm not going to use, stuff that I've bought and it's like I've just never used it. So I am going to put this one. I might be able to cut a bit off this. Should I get this used up? Maybe I should get this used up. So I'm going to get all of my bits that I want to use and then put my other sections back so I can have everything all nicely lined up, ready to go. I'm going to get my first pieces and I'm just going to press them. Get that one. And you're going to get another one. And then the priority is with this is that you've got some straight lines. A crumb quilt is basically just a scrappy quilt. It's another word to call a scrappy quilt. So you're going to get these two here and you are going to now sew these seams together. So the priority is just to always have a straight line. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I'm going to keep all of my settings on the straight stitch. It's telling me the J foot because my machine always tells me what foot to use. And these grey blocks here means that it's just a factory setting of whatever they've decided to use for the width and the length and the tension. Now the needle that I have set up is a 90-14 needle. I generally use the Microtex needle. And also I'm going to use my 1/4 inch foot with guide. This 1/4 inch foot is really useful and I generally use this a lot more than I use my J foot because it helps me get my 1/4 inch seam, and your fabric pushes along here, making sure that you have a 1/4 inch. It's an amazing foot. Like I said, I always use it. Don't get overwhelmed by your thread choice. I generally just use a common polyester thread, and this is going to have many different colours in it, and I'm just going to use a white. So use a white or a grey and you should be good to go. So I have my two seams lined up in my sewing machine and we are ready to sew. Now you're just going to open your seams up and you are going to press. So you can choose to press to the lighter side. Most quilters press to the darker side so you don't see that seam on your lighter fabric, and other quilters will open the seam up and press the seam open. It's totally up to you. As a rule of thumb, I'll generally press my seam to the darker side of the fabric. Let me know in the comments down below, how do you press your seams? Now this is where the fun really begins. We're going to cut this end off right here. So I'm just going to line my quilting ruler up and I'm going to take this end off. Now remember, all we're really bothered about with making this crumb quilt is that we have a straight line. So if you want to start cutting pieces left, right and centre, that is really fun, and play with it. Seriously, it's going to be great. So there's many ways we could go with this. We could put another piece here, another piece here, another there and there. That's a bit boring. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to literally, I'm going to take my ruler and I am going to cut. And I'm going to take my next piece and I'm going to attach it right on this side. This is going to be truly your own creation. Have fun with it. And in theory, I have 2 sections to work from now. So I'm going to get my little scrap pieces of fabric and start building off these 2 sections. If you're like me and you do applique work, you're going to have sections that look like this. And no worries, all we need to do, remember, is create that straight line. So we're going to create a straight line somewhere on this piece. And I've also got this straight piece here, so I'm just going to cut this little tail off, make it a bit more prettier. And I've now got this straight piece here and also a straight piece that comes along here. So now I can get my first 2 that I had and put them right sides together. Remember, we're always building right sides together. And I don't know if this is going to be too small. This may have to work for another section. I don't think this is going to fit. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it can go there. I think I can sew that. Let's go and sew this. And all we do again is open these sections up and then we're going to press them. So we're basically just making our own pattern, and we're doing it all freehand. And as long as you choose like fabrics within the same colour family or like contrasting, it's going to look really cool. So I'm going to let you guys stay with me while I continue to build these blocks. That's where we're going to go. We're going to build a block size up to about 6 inches square. And you continue to look at your pieces and make sure, like this portion here, we need to straighten this out. We always have to work from a straight line. So you may still get some scraps from this, and there might be pieces that you will not be able to use like this. So I'm just going to put these in the garbage, or you could use this as filler inside of pillows, whatever you use your little tiny bits for. But I don't keep these. I'm just going to garbage these. So I'm going to cut this piece here. So I'm going to make 2 pieces out of this one. And then I need to just straighten this up. You're always making sure that you have a straight line. And then I'm going to place this piece here, and I'm going to sew right across. And I'm not going to worry that he's too long for this piece, because I can rectify that later on. So as long as I have the 2 straight pieces, I am good to go. And I'm going to put this piece, so yeah, you should really iron them so they're not creasing. So I'm just going to press this down. Make sure I have a straight edge next to another straight edge. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same size, because we can rectify that later on. I'm going to take these 2 pieces back over to my sewing machine and sew these seams into place. So you can see how this crumb quilt is going to come along quite quickly. So let's say that you're sick of doing some quilting patterns and you just want to get rid of all of your scrap fabric. This is the perfect project for you. Create a crumb quilt. A scrappy fabric quilt. They are so fun. And at the end of the day, these are all fabrics that your favourite fabrics that you've chosen from the store. And you're going to have them pieced in a cute little manner. I'm going to keep building these two sections until they get to 6 inches, or it's probably going to be over 6 inches. I want to square them off to 6-inch quilt blocks. So I'm probably going to build them to about 7 inches squared. So another thing I do on my pieces is I constantly cut edges at each side, so I have different sizes to choose from out of my scrap boxes. So I have all these different size edges on this one, and I have bigger edges on this one. If you're finding that your quilt block isn't looking scrappy enough, like you're getting two big sections of fabric like this, what you can do is just cut through it. Don't be scared, just start cutting. And then use this section in another part of your block. If you have smaller pieces, just join them together like I did. I had these little squares, and then what you can do is put them at an angle so they don't look so uniform, and then join them to your other section. So I originally said I was going to do a 6-inch block. I actually am going to do a 10-inch block because I think it looks amazing and I really want to show it off. And I think if I just stopped at a 6-inch, it'd be really small. So I took this up to a 10-inch block. So you're going to want to do at least 11 inches all the way around, because we're going to square this up now. And what you may find is that you'll have pieces like this. It's just your thread where you've pieced everything, or bits of frayed fabric. So we're just going to tidy this up with some applique scissors. So these here are really cool. They've got like, they go up a little bit so you can get down into that applique, and they're really good for projects like this. So I'm just going to get my thread, and I'm just going to cut away and make everything tidier. And I'm also going to make sure that I press this block down. So I'm going to get my square ruler out, and it goes all the way up to a 12.5-inch square. And I'm going to square this up to a 10-inch block. And the good thing about this is that it's see-through, so I can see exactly how it's going to look like when I'm finished. So first of all, get a straight edge. So I'm just going to cut along here, and I'm going to get a straight edge. And then I'm going to turn my fabric around, and I'm going to get another straight edge. So there's going to be 2 straight edges, one at either side. What we're going to do next is square up this quilt block. And I'll zoom up close so you can see what I'm doing. So there's 2 straight edges that we cut are here, and I've lined it up to this 10. So this is the 10 inches this way and 10 inches the other way. And I clearly have an overhang of fabric on the other side. So this bit here and this bit here overhangs the 10 inches that we want for our block. So I am just going to make sure again that we're on 10 and 10. And on this other side, all I'm going to do is chop. And then on this side, I'm just going to cut this. So I'm going to end up with a 10-inch block. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this block. I'm going to make sure that I press it. And then I'm going to cut off all these little bits here. And then I'll square this block up to a 10-inch block also. So what we're going to do first is make sure that we have our 2 straight edges. So I've cut a tiny piece off here. I may need to have a new blade in my rotary cutter. And I'm just going to line it up on my cutting mat again to make sure that I get a straight line. Then we're going to line it up with the 10 inches by the 10 inches, and we're going to cut at either side of the block, making it that perfect 10-inch quilting block. There we go. So as you can see here, I've now got 4 blocks. You can carry on and make a huge quilt out of these. I'm just going to use these 4 blocks as an example and see how different they look, like this creamy colour to this orange block. You can make it look absolutely amazing. And what I would say about doing these is try and keep them within the same colour groups, because I think it looks 10 times better. So all orange and all white, and it doesn't look as fussy then. And then all we do is put these 2 right sides together and start creating our quilt. So I've got many how-to tutorials on how to do different quilts, and I have one on how to do a square quilt block quilt, and that'll be the one that you would watch in order to know how to put these together. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I upload a new video every single week. I also love to read your comments, so drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this. Are you going to give it a try? It's really effective. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.